This is robot. This is organic. Let's combine them. As you can see, I have prepared a brown paper to start the drawing. Usually I hoard these brown papers because I want to draw on them and they're cool to draw on, but I never really use them that often, so I thought, F it, we're just gonna do the sketching, the pre-sketching on this brown paper. So let's get started. And by pre-sketching, I mean exploration. So what I know is that I want to use sort of the legs that, legs looking a little bit like something that we drew in a previous video. So I want to go along that, and then everything else will follow. Don't want to make it too buggy, so I will have to check out what I can do there. And as you guys know, I usually don't work with values, but sometimes for your thumbnails, it's nice to just work a little bit like this, where you can't do details. And the more you work with just darks, the more you see and can read shapes into it. So I am actually a fan of using them in this way. I could also use several of these. Could be too much. Not sure. But I do like of having a central ball, if we look at it from the front. Then having some sort of back there, and then maybe having, I'm thinking of like shouldery area here. We could add sort of a head, and then we would have the arms, and then the two legs in the front. Well, appendages, I guess, are better. Something. Let's make it more than just 4. 4 seems a little bit reductive. It's nicer if we go to a higher number. Something like this. So I sort of like this. I want to continue on that vein. So we have this central for the legs, and let's just make a couple more of these. Let's have some fun. As you can see, every now and then it's nice to step away from what you're doing and going into a different design direction. You might end up with something more interesting, or you might end up with something that might inspire you to incorporate something of this in something that we started out with, or you just end up ending up with nothing. So that can happen as well, of course. As you can see, I tried quite a couple of things, and we came quite far from the bug-like to this one. It was at this point where I wanted to have something or 4-leg, and I was thinking, okay, let me go a little bit more organic. What if I would give it like leaves or wings? Doesn't make sense for a robot, doesn't have to. But then I thought, oh, what if it's like more beast-like, and instead of wings, it actually has more tentacles that are like really going crazy. But then I thought, okay, having tentacle legs and crazy tentacle feet is not so cool. So what if we switch the legs for like fast, thin running legs? And this is sort of a running pose. And then the tentacles are going really crazy. Maybe some tentacles are to the front, others are to the back. Or then I was also thinking about like sort of an attacking pose, like when cats get ready to pounce. So I think I am going to stay with these two. I really like these. So let's switch to a sketchbook now. All right, I have brought out my sketchbook, my robot sketchbook. I have a whole bunch of robots in here. So I thought this would be fitting to doing this one. And I also added a couple of more poses that I tried out, and I think I will stick with this one. I like that the left arms reaching to grab a piece of rock or something out of the ground. What I want to do is maybe give a bit more tilt to the body. So that's what we're gonna do now. And I got a relatively lightly colored marker. So let's see if that picks up here. If not, I guess I'll cut this part. Alright, the underlay sketch is done, so now it's time for the lines. There is no wrong or right area to start with. I'm just gonna start with the head because I guess it's closest by, but you don't need to start there. Also, this is still relatively going to be quite sketchy because, as you can see from the underlying sketch, I didn't quite finalize the underlay, so I'm not 100% sure what I want to have where, which is fun if you like that sort of style, as you all know. I do. Something that you can pay attention to is that the arms, since you have several arms, some arms might be intersecting each other, so this might come over that one. Make sure that the arms that are in the foreground, to draw those first. You don't need to, you can go a little bit, so what I like to do, of course, you don't have to do anything I'm saying here, you do your own thing. I don't mind going a little bit cartoony, so I'm gonna do a little bit more edgy stuff in a minute there, you will see. It's about the style as well, since we're not doing realistic. Don't be afraid of going for a certain fun style if that is what works best for you or that is what you like. Having these harder edges here just makes the whole drawing a little bit more dynamic and fun. Don't forget, as I said, we're coming this way. Like if we want to add these circles to give it that feeling, keep in mind which way we're pointing, where it becomes a little bit. So here it should be flat, and here it's already turning towards us again. So here is the part like what we talked about with the center of the thing almost, just because it has a turning angle. So it doesn't just happen when you turn your head, it also happens when you're turning the thing itself. So here again, we had one change here. As you can see, it's looking up, change, looking this way, and then we're going to have a change again here, and it's going to be looking that way. We have a couple of thinner and thicker areas. As I said, this is the part where I don't mind at all because it is my style. It is the cartoony style. Now, watch out again. I'm going to draw these in. As it comes to this bend here, it's becoming straight, turns a little bit, and then we have a bend again, and then turns the other way around. And then it is lifting that big rock up there. Arm comes like this. What is more interesting, since this is coming like this and this one, let's just have a nice arch there. And this is coming around it, so I think I want this to go a little bit more that way. Then we have a little bit of equaling out here. And now it's turning towards the camera. There we go. So you can see that this goes, just by adding these curves, you see that this will go behind and this comes to the front. Actually, looking at this, this could have stayed a little bit more like this. Mistakes happen, just be ready for them. As you can see, I make the ellipse bigger when it points a bit more towards the camera, and then I take away from that when it points not directly to the camera. So there's a lot of wiggle room and play that you can have here. So this is a little bit more complicated area here because we have an angle. So this comes at an angle. I try to point it out on both sides. Doesn't always work. One thing that I messed up a little bit here is we're supposed to see a little bit this side of the leg. So I'm trying to cheat now and bring some of that back. Otherwise, if we draw or when we draw in this under part of the leg, I don't know, it would be like middle leg or lower leg, because technically this is like the foot. If we look at anatomy, it would have been too much twisted outwards. Even like this, I find it is a little bit twisted, but at least I can work with this a little bit better. Something that I noticed, didn't have in the design, would be nice, since he is kneeling or it is kneeling, to have some sort of pad there. Same shtick again here. We're going to have several changes here which might impact the, I would say, roundness or squishness of our ellipses. So vary that. You can see more round, more squished, more round. So whenever pointing towards the camera, round. When it's flat to the camera, then it's squished, round, squished. So here the whole thing is a little bit less round, but we can see how it changes. So this will have to go this way. I will slowly start. There we go, this goes this way, and then we go into the roundness there again. So there's a lot of, and you also have freedom. It does not need to be perfect. I have definitely some areas here that are too round as opposed to squish, but you have a lot of room to play around with this. And now it's time to use some markers and just have some fun, marker it up. When it comes to rendering organic shapes or round shapes in this case as well, keep in mind that we have several sources of light, well, one source of light, but several reflections, and if you will showcase those, you will get a much more organic feel to your surface. So right now I did an underlay with my lightest yellow. It's basically the one that I was drawing the whole thing with. And I am going to come in with my other yellow, which brought a little bit of actual yellowness to it. So I know that this is in shadow area here, and I can come in and play a little bit here as well, also shadow area. What I am going to do is jump right back with the previous yellow and try to smooth this out a little bit. Just go over it, pull it along a little bit. I don't want to have sharp edges at this point. This way I will give it that really nice smooth feeling like I did here before. So same trick here. I know that this is going to a bit more yellow. It will go down there and maybe a bit there as well, and bring some of it from there. So I'm going to jump back onto my other yellow and just try to smooth this out a little bit so you don't see the edges where it starts and where it ends. And with that, we have come to the part where I thank you for watching this video. I hope this demonstration of last week's principles helps you put those ideas into effect and lets you exercise them as well. If you have any questions or remarks, feel free to post them in the comment section. I always make sure to read and reply as soon as I can. If you liked the video, hit that like button or subscribe if you are not a subscriber yet. Or
If you really liked the video and want to support me, then take a look at the description down below, where you can find links to my Patreon and Gumroad, amongst other useful links. I also want to thank my patrons for their amazing support. I really appreciate it. But as always, the most important thing is that you folks have a great time, and see you in the next video. Bye bye!